Hello everyone. What if I told you, never accept free ice cream from a stranger on a deserted highway, no matter what? It sounds like the beginning of a horror movie. But what if that one ice cream could steal your youth, erase your identity, and slowly turn you into something you'll never escape? The story you're about to hear is based on a terrifying experience that was shared with me by someone who claims it happened to his own family. Whether you believe it or not, that's completely up to you. This happened during the summer of 2023. The main character of this story was Ethan Carter, a 23-year-old truck driver from Chicago, Illinois. Ethan worked for a large transportation company that delivered cargo across the United States. His boss trusted him more than anyone else because Ethan's father had spent years driving trucks for the same company before suffering a stroke that forced him to retire. After that, Ethan took over the responsibility of supporting his family. He was known as one of the hardest workers in the company. Most of the time, he loaded the truck, drove hundreds of miles, and unloaded the cargo completely on his own. One hot summer night, just after midnight, Ethan was finally getting some rest. He had already decided to take a full week off after finishing his last delivery. Then his phone rang. It was his boss, Mr. Walker. "Ethan, I know it's late, but I really need your help." "What happened?" "A major client just placed an emergency order. A truck loaded with toys has to leave tonight from Chicago and reach Dallas as soon as possible. I'll pay you double for this trip." Ethan stayed quiet for a moment. Driving across the country in the middle of a brutal heat wave was the last thing he wanted to do. "I'll double your pay," Mr. Walker said again. "Whatever you need on the road, food, fuel, anything, it's on me. I just can't afford to lose this contract." After thinking for a few seconds, Ethan finally agreed. "All right, I'll do it." About 30 minutes later, he arrived at the company's truck yard, picked up his trailer, and drove to a large toy warehouse on the edge of the city. Warehouse workers helped him load giant teddy bears, children's toys, gift boxes, and other merchandise into the trailer. Even with their help, loading everything took hours. By the time he finished, his clothes were completely soaked with sweat. Around 3 a.m., Ethan finally pulled onto Interstate 55, heading toward Dallas, Texas. The highway was almost empty. Endless asphalt stretched ahead of him. Dark forests surrounded both sides of the road, and complete silence filled the night. After driving for a while, the heat became unbearable. He pulled the truck over, grabbed a bottle of water, and splashed it across his face. The water wasn't cold anymore. It barely made a difference. Then, he heard something that instantly caught his attention. Ding, ding, ding. The sound of an old-fashioned ice cream cart bell. At 3 o'clock in the morning, on a deserted highway. Ethan looked down the road. An old ice cream cart was slowly rolling toward him. Pushing it was an elderly man who looked at least 85 years old. His back was bent. His hands trembled. Yet he kept ringing the little bell as if he expected customers to appear in the middle of nowhere. It felt strange, but after hours of driving in the summer heat, an ice cream actually sounded refreshing. Ethan walked over and smiled. "Hey, do you still have any ice cream left?" The old man looked up and smiled back. "Just one." "Perfect. How much?" The old man slowly shook his head. "It's free." "Seriously?" "I was going to throw it away anyway." Ethan shrugged. "Well, thanks." He unwrapped the vanilla popsicle and took his first bite. The smile instantly disappeared from his face. Something was terribly wrong. The flavor wasn't sweet. It wasn't sour. It was impossible to describe. Dry, cold, lifeless. Then a horrible smell filled his nose. It reminded him of an abandoned funeral home. A rotten, sickening odor that made his stomach turn. He pulled the popsicle away and stared at it. What the hell is this? For a moment, he thought about throwing it away, but he convinced himself it had probably been sitting in the freezer for too long. So he took another bite, then another. Within seconds, his fingers started trembling. His teeth became painfully sensitive. His legs suddenly felt weak. A strange chill spread through his entire body. Confused, Ethan turned back toward the old man. "Hey, what kind of ice cream is the..." The words caught in his throat. The old man didn't look 85 anymore. Now, he looked closer to 60. Same face, same clothes, just 25 years younger. Ethan froze. Ethan stood there, frozen. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Just seconds ago, the man had looked at least 85 years old. Now he looked closer to 60. It was the same face, the same clothes, and the same unsettling smile, only decades younger. Ethan's heart began racing. No, this can't be real. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. The man was still standing there, smiling without saying a word, trying to convince himself that exhaustion was making him hallucinate. Ethan took another bite of the popsicle. Almost immediately, his hand started shaking uncontrollably. A sharp pain shot through his teeth, making them unbelievably sensitive. His legs felt weak, and an icy chill spread through his entire body. He looked back at the old man one more time. This time, the 60-year-old man was gone. Standing behind the cart was a man who looked no older than 30. It was the same face, the same clothes, and the same smile, only younger. A wave of panic hit Ethan. Without wasting another second, he threw the remaining ice cream away, sprinted back to his truck, slammed the door shut, started the engine, and sped down the highway. His mind couldn't process what had just happened. How could someone become younger within minutes? Nothing about it made sense. About 2 miles later, Ethan suddenly felt incredibly sleepy. It wasn't normal exhaustion. It felt as if something was draining every ounce of strength from his body. His vision became blurry. His grip on the steering wheel weakened. Then everything went black. The truck swerved off the highway and crashed straight into a large tree. The impact shook the entire truck. A few minutes later, another truck pulled over. A middle-aged truck driver, around 45 years old, rushed toward the wreck. He opened Ethan's door and shouted, "Sir, are you okay?" Ethan slowly opened his eyes. He was dizzy, but somehow he was still alive. The driver reached out to help him climb down. As soon as Ethan stepped out, the man looked at him with concern and said, "Easy there, sir. You should probably sit down." Sir? Why was he calling him sir? "I'm 23, Ethan snapped. "Why are you talking to me like I'm an old man?" The driver stared at him in complete confusion. "What are you talking about?" Annoyed, Ethan turned toward the truck. That's when he noticed his reflection in the driver's side window. He froze. The young man he expected to see was gone. Looking back at him was a man in his 70s. His hair had turned completely white. Deep wrinkles covered his face. His skin looked old. His hands trembled. Even his posture had changed. Ethan slowly raised a shaking hand and touched his face. It wasn't an illusion. He really had become old. Fear consumed him. Before he could explain anything, the other truck driver assumed he was confused after the accident. After making sure Ethan could stand on his own, he got back into his truck and drove away. Now Ethan was completely alone, standing beside a wrecked truck on a deserted highway, trapped inside the body of an old man. And deep down, somehow, Ethan managed to complete the delivery and make it back to Chicago. But throughout the entire drive, every mirror and every window reflected the same horrifying image: an old man staring back at him. By the time he reached home, he looked nearly 85 years old. Desperate for answers, Ethan decided that first thing the next morning he would see a doctor. But that night, around 2 a.m., he suddenly woke up to a horrible smell filling his bedroom. It was the exact same rotten smell that had come from the ice cream. At the same time, that strange taste returned to his mouth. He jumped out of bed and turned on the lights. There was no one there. The next morning, he went to a hospital. Doctors ran every test they could. His blood pressure was normal. His heart was healthy. Everything looked perfectly fine. Believing he was suffering from severe psychological trauma, they sent him home. The following night, something even more terrifying happened. Around 3 a.m., Ethan heard the same sound again. Ding, ding, ding. He slowly opened his eyes. His heart stopped. He wasn't in his bedroom anymore. He was standing on that same deserted highway, right in front of the same ice cream cart. Terrified, Ethan ran as fast as he could and somehow made it back home. But the next night, it happened again. And the night after that. Every single night, he would wake up beside that mysterious ice cream cart, no matter where he fell asleep. Completely broken, Ethan finally told his family everything. His parents, his older brother Ryan, and his sister-in-law immediately drove to Chicago. The moment they saw Ethan, they were speechless. The 23-year-old they remembered was gone. Standing in front of them was a frail man who looked almost 85 years old. His father couldn't hold back his tears. "We'll find the best doctors in the country," he said. "Whatever this is, we'll fix it." That night, the entire family stayed together in Ethan's house. Sometime after midnight, Ryan suddenly woke up. Ethan's bed was empty. The front door was wide open. Ryan grabbed his truck keys and rushed toward the highway behind the neighborhood. A few minutes later, he heard it. Ding, ding, ding. The sound of the ice cream cart. Parked on the side of the empty highway was the same old cart. Ryan slowly stepped closer. Then he froze. Standing behind the cart was a man who looked almost 90 years old. But the face, it was Ethan's. The old man smiled, opened the cart, pulled out a single popsicle, and quietly said, "There's only one left, and it's free." Ryan turned around and ran without looking back. Minutes later, he returned with the rest of the family. But when they reached the spot, the cart was gone. The old man was gone. And Ethan had completely vanished. 3 years have passed since that night. No one has ever seen Ethan Carter again. But even today, truck drivers traveling that lonely stretch of highway claim they sometimes see an old man pushing an ice cream cart in the middle of the night. He always smiles. He always rings the same little bell. And he always says the exact same words. "I only have one ice cream left, and it's free." No one knows who he really is. But those who stop are never the same again.